Chris, crowdfunding roundup. What do you need to know this week? What's new? What's hot? And what's getting all the funds? And where should your funds go? And is it right for you? Let's talk. Let's go through all the games that launched new this week and everything that hopefully you'll need to know, including how they play. Let's do this. That's all I got. It's going to be a great weekend. Don't skip leg day. Let's go. If you had Townsfolk Tussle being the biggest hit or winner of the week, well, you win. That's where my money was last week. But almost $500,000 at the point of me filming this. I mean, this is, like I said, people are getting in because it wasn't available in the secondary retail market. This is KDM Light. This is Kingdom Death Monster Aeon Trespass Odyssey Light, if you will. You are just buying some stuff from town, doing a little bit of side quest, positive or negative effect on the overall scheme of things, and then fighting a boss. Doing that 4 times in order to beat the game. What is this new content going to be adding? Well, it's adding basically more of all of the stuff that you would want from a game like this in the first place, right? It's adding more villains. It's adding more gear. It's adding unlockable, craftable gear in a sense. It's adding more terrain. It's adding little side quests that you can have from a peddler. So that is what you're getting right now, right? It's not really anything different. It's just more of the same thing. Now, one of the expansions actually adds, it says here, a little bit more complexity. And so if you want a little bit more complexity here, right here with this one, the Foul Neighbors, then you go for that one. The Foul Neighbors is also the much bigger of the 2 expansions. The Odd Jobs one is the much smaller. It's a $75 price point and a $30 price point for these expansions. And so for total, if you want just the new stuff, it's going to cost you $115. Now, if you want just the second edition, though, it's only $105, which is not really a significant bump up from the first crowdfunding campaign. So that's actually probably the biggest surprise. Well, spoilers here. I'm going to get to the rant part of this video here in a second. That's the second biggest surprise of the week. And that is one of the things that I'm going to rant about today here when we get down below a little bit further. And you'll know that. You'll know it when I get there. There are new ambush cards in order to give more of an AI system to the enemy in the first place. And there's going to be new terrains and new tokens that you're going to be having to deal with. It's completely compatible with the previous friends and other things that went along with the first edition. You have an upgrade kit that's available to buy. Also, free materials are going to be available after the campaign in the first place. It's miniature based, so take it for what you will. And they're showing you a little bit of the extra stuff that you're going to be getting here and what's actually going to be in all the boxes. And they go through that. And, you know, here's the Odd Jobs expansion, synergies, strategies, unlockable gear. There you go. They show you an example. And they give you a bunch of reviews down here in a second. And you'll get a bunch of videos talking about the old reviews and the new stuff here as well. And how essential it is and how it's going to make it better. And so that's what you need to know. So if you like the game, I would say probably to begin with, it's going to be more of a good thing. But is it $100 worth of a good thing? Or are you better off getting one of the 2 of the aspects? Your mileage may vary. So the basic mechanics of the game are relatively simple, right? It's a move, it's an attack, it's you have a gear, you have Moxie, which is your action selection system, because everything you're going to do is cost a certain amount of actions. Instead of actions, it's actually Moxie. You have a range, you have accuracy, all of those things. You have a very similar combat skill system to Kingdom Death Monster as well. So if you're looking for something like that and the price point is inaccessible and or the miniatures are inaccessible and or you just don't like the grotesque version of things, you know, that's completely okay. Like I would probably, for streamlined, now knowing my own play group and my own play style, pick up this instead of KDM, to be very frank with you. I'm not saying it's a better game, but for my own ability to hit the table, this fits much nicer in that sense. Now again, here you go. You see a little bit of the pledge levels. The all-in gameplay pledge level, it doesn't save you any money. It's just a straight up, you know, everything additionally just summed up total, right? The thing that I'm going to rant on right here is this. $210 for the gameplay all-in bundle, $325 for the gravestone bundle. And no, yes, that does offer a little bit extra metal coins and pin set. However, both of those total up to believe a total of $52, which means $63 if you're doing the math correctly at home in your head along with me. $63 is going to get you your name written on the side of the box. Yeah, intentional silence right there. $63 for your name written on the side of the box. And guess what? Those are all gone right now. All of those pledge levels. All 100 of them. If you want to simp for having your name on the side of the box and you have that much disposable cash, great. That's all I can say. I don't really have much of a rant. If you really want to pay that much more for it, you know what? Awesome, awesome, awesome. But that's a lot of money to have your name on a box, folks. It's a lot of money to have your name on a box. Now, that's not the worst thing that's coming on crowdfunding this week. We're going to talk about random mystery packs being included with the board game too here in a couple minutes. And if you want to tune into that rant, definitely tune in to the timestamp down below, and I'll link you to where that is. But otherwise, yeah, like I said, here, they're showing you where it's going to be, which is weird that they're showing the MSRP now that I think about it, because it wasn't available at retail. So can you have an MSRP without an actual retail availability? Am I wrong with that? Is this one going to be going to retail? I know that they're offering a retailer pledge, but anyway, that's whatever else you need to know. Yeah, pin set and metal coins that I talked about. Stretch goals, they're having a few unlocks here, a few reveals. It's fine. Here are all the videos that I mentioned. Shipping's going to be whatever here down at the bottom. You don't care about that. Is it a good deal? Yeah, it's a good deal. Do you need all of it for $200+? I mean, do you need another one of these? I mean, that's really the question, right? And the honest answer is no. It's just your mileage may vary which one is right for you. And this one is probably going to be more accessible than a lot of those other gameplay lifestyle type games. And so that's why it gets, sort of a nod over them. Truth be told, though, I just don't have any need for more of these. I would love this game. Don't get me wrong. I would love this game. I would love to play this game. I would love to trade for this game. But I can't spend $200 on it right now. Because, again, I have enough trouble getting Kingdom Death, which hasn't gone out of the closet in... Kingdom Death's not out of the closet for the last 2 years. Anyway, take that phrase for what it is. Aeon Trespass Odyssey, not done with that game yet. And that game completes me in terms of some of the boss battling. And so this is going to just be some more streamlined, more straightforward. And if you don't want some of the real complex battles, this one is your go-to, especially because you can't buy ATO at this point anyway. Although they're going to have a new campaign later this year, so take that for what you will as well. Because gosh knows you probably won't get this one before, end of 2024. So there you go, Townsfolk Tussle. Clearly huge smashing success though, regardless of how you feel about any point of things. Speaking of points, it's almost like he planned that segue. Point City and Deep Dive. One of these has much more appeal to me than the other. And that is Point City. Deep Dive looks okay, but Point City is really a step up from Point Salad. And by the time you guys are viewing this will probably be over 100,000, which for $19 games is really freaking good. Really freaking good. What do you need to know though? Point City, Deep Dive. Point City here, you have a 4x4 grid of cards. And the cards, actually, I didn't realize this before the campaign, they're double-sided. On one side, you have just a straight-up resource icon. The other side, you have the unique building. There's 60 or so, 120 unique, different art, different mechanics, buildings that you're going to have access to. So there's only about like 5 or 6 different resources that you're going to be needing to build those, but you have to have the resources to build them. And so how do you do that? Well, from this 4x4 grid on a turn-by-turn basis, you are drafting 2 cards that are orthogonally next to each other or off the top of the deck. But if you're drafting off the top of the deck, it's usually the resource card that's facing up. Now, that's a caveat, because if you draft a resource card from the pile, then the resource card on the top of the deck actually gets flipped up to the building side. And then only when you have to refill spots do you take it and put it into said spot in the first place. Why is that important? Because if you don't grab resources from the main area, you are not going to have as many buildings on the actual 4x4 grid, because you do not flip them when you place them. They stay the way they are on the board when they come from the draw pile. That is the very interesting mechanic here, and I kind of like it. Is that weird? Like, I kind of like that mechanic because it forces you to actually take some of their stuff, despite you having a tableau, sort of ish set collection, not really, but a tableau engine build that you're using, and that each of these buildings are going to provide other resources for in the first place. So you don't necessarily need it from that aspect. Now, there are going to be some tiers of, strengths of these buildings. So as you go, there are going to be stronger buildings that require more. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit of an engine building situation, but I think it overall looks like a very solid quality filler. There's the 6 that I mentioned right there. And you get these little tokens that are, what did they say? Civilization tokens, civ tokens, civic tokens, something along those lines, that are basically, as you can see here, 2 points or 3 points per whatever is on the right side for your end game scoring. They give you a little exclusive 4 extra as the reason for backing it on crowdfunding. And so, they run you through here, right? There's the double-sided things that I said. There's the unique artwork that I ran you through. You can see that there's 3 different colored backgrounds there as well, representing the tiers. And then you have the extra civic tokens that I mentioned. And now we'll talk about Deep Dive here. You have 3 penguins. You have 5 different tiers of depths of ocean that, again, are all different color distributed in the background. And you actually physically separate out these tiles when you're putting them down. And so you have to dive from one layer to the next layer to the next layer. And you have things like clear water, a rock, Food, other, you're a penguin, right? So penguin food, fish and things like that, and shrimp and, crawdads and, crawdads anyway. But then there's also predators. And so if you run into a predator, your penguin gets stuck there. However, that penguin is stuck there, which means that you don't need to actually do that level next time. So you can dive deeper, you can get more of a collection. And you're doing a set collection sort of thing. So if you hit a predator, you have to surface, your turn's over. But otherwise, you can at any time grab your food, go back to the surface, and rinse and repeat. The nice thing is, though, you may worry that if you have 3 penguins and all 3 penguins get hit by predators, right, you're out. No, you're not actually out in this game. What happens is that you then, and only then, do you grab all 3 of your penguins, and you can grab 1 food collection to bring back up with you. And so you don't go completely empty-handed on that round when the 3rd one happens. But the first 2 times it happens, when your penguins get stuck down there, yes, you will go back empty-handed. And that's where the set collection issue of pressure luck is going to play a big role. Here, like I mentioned before, here's the free to backers exclusive promos, bonus food tokens, bonus civic tokens there. How to play, I ran you through all that stuff, the refill it, and the rule books are out there. So here you go, everything is there. Again, I'd say Point City, it looks like an actually very good filler for me, and you can even get the print and play for less, but I'm looking really at the $19 here, which again, I'm not really sure what the upgrades are. I'm assuming it's just what I mentioned, because I didn't really see anything else on the page that was talking about that. So, but whoa, quotes and quotes and quotes and quotes and quotes galore. So, oh, here we go. So we go all the way down. I guess I just missed some of these, but they're going to be a little bit, I mean, like none of this stuff is exclusive, right? So are you really going to make a less good version with regular thin cards and not good finish on the tiles or cards in the first place? And the solo mode, like solo mode's in the rulebook. So that's not really a big upgrade. I can't imagine that's going to be part of the Kickstarter edition versus the regular retail. So take that for what you will. Basically, you're going to support the publishers, and you're going to get this little tiny promo essential thing to go along with it if you want. And if that's inclusive and enticing for you, awesome. If it's not, great. Try and get it at retail for slightly less. It's going to cost you $9 for getting one of them. So you're looking at $28 for a filler. With a little expansion promo thing there, it's about what I would have expected. So it's not as good as I would have expected, because again, I'm always, on the consumer side of things too, a little bit cheaper, but it's intriguing enough to make me seriously think about it. So I will be hitting remind me, and there you go. Next up, Doomlings Overlush. Again, this is the sequel expansion to Doomlings that launched about, like 2 years ago on crowdfunding, which was actually sort of in the lines of a Unstable Unicorns, that sort of vibe type of game. Because you're basically taking these little Doomlings and you're modifying them and giving them different attributes and, scoring different points based off of like a set collection type of manner. And this was one of those that I looked at and I said, this actually seems like it's got a little bit more depth than like an Unstable Unicorns or that type of ilk. And so I looked at it and I said, oh man, there was some Kickstarter exclusive stuff, and I just don't buy speculatory stuff, right? That's why I didn't buy Casting Shadows, even though last year, if you remember that, I told you that's probably the best Kickstarter value you'll ever see, because based on the previous games that person put out. And you know what? It's selling on the secondary market for god-smackingly obscene amounts of money. And is it worth it? No, absolutely not. But it's exclusive, and it's exclusive, and it's exclusive. And it had a little bit of this reminder last time. That's why I'm diverging on a tangent here. But the thing that is sort of weird on this one, right? Like the expansion box itself is $25. No problem with the Overlush mystery box expansion, right? No big deal there. No big deal whatsoever. And then you can get one Kickstarter exclusive pack down here, right? Okay. Still not a big deal too much. They give you a gold pack here, which is just hollow foils. And then you have the Kickstarter exclusive pack. The weird thing about it here is if we get scrolling down here further, you start to see, let's see, where is it? Let's skip past this a little bit. Here we go. This is, they give you new ways to play, new traits, new ages that you're going to be managing and going through, sort of like environments, if you will. What they're going to be looking like. And the mystery pack here, though, is it works like any other expansion. But if this looks like a TCG model, it's because it looks like and smells like and walks like and talks like a TCG model in my mind, right? You have commons, uncommons, rares, and legendaries, holofoils in this case. And they run you through what they're going to be. And you're not going to get all of them, though, because they're not going to be equal. There's just stuff that you're going to get. There's all of these different cards plus more. And you can buy different amounts of packs. So, yeah? How do you feel about that? Included now in your board game, card game, tabletop game, not just TCG. That's the weird thing that I kind of have mixed feelings on. Like, I think it's a solid game, but I just don't necessarily like that model, because you can see here, if we go down to the pledge level here for $50, the mystery expansion has 60 cards in it. Then you go down to the 75 one, the entire Overlush collection has 173 cards in it. Am I missing something here? Like, right? I mean, and then you start going down here, you get to the Doomlings Ultimate. Like, all of these have a different amount of the holofoils. Like, and I'm assuming those holofoil packs are going to be all different too. So it's just a weird model that I'm just not sure I feel good about. I don't like the TCG distribution model at retail, and I don't really like seeing inklings of it. Even if this isn't exactly it, maybe I'm misinterpreting this whatsoever. I just don't like seeing it necessarily on the crowdfunding side of things either. So there you go, Doomlings. I think it's a solid family game. Vassal's review is down there, and I think he gives it actually glowing praise for the family style light-ish filler game. So take that for what you will. Go watch it and check it out yourself. So next up, what do we got going on? We got tabletop news. This is a weird one. Folks. It's probably going to be twice this amount by the time you guys watch this video at the end of the week. And hopefully it is. At the same time, $150,000 funding goal to make a tabletop news show. Okay, tabletop news show. They're going like in the line of the Wheaton. If you remember Becca Scott, I mean, from some other day, the tabletop that has a Good Time Society. She's got her own channel over on Geek and Sundry still, or separate. I don't even remember. But she's got her channel over there, and she does a bunch of videos, good quality content. But what they've said here is they're making a new tabletop series of just news and just tabletop, right? Like full length episode every week on YouTube, individual segments, and they say post them everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere in between. What's weird is not that they want to do this, right? I think this is a great concept, but when it's got two things that make me sort of go, what? Like, one, there's plenty of other places like myself, like, Dice Tower even, that put out a relatively routine news, not just from board games, but like tabletop-ish, adjacent as well. And so that's a little bit tricky just from that aspect, right? Like, you have plenty of people doing it for free, so why would people necessarily want to pay for a slightly better, more production savvy version of it, right? Like, again, no problem with that, but the question has to be raised. Why? The other question that I saw getting raised a couple places was from again, not wanting to support them, but why support them, right? Because most of the time, if you're going to support something like this, maybe you want a little bit of input. You want a little bit like if a television show, you want to be a producer. You want to have some direct input. And none of the pledge levels, as far as I know, offer anything in any shape or form of that, right? It's mostly personalized messages, soundtracks, posters, little pics or video from an episode. You get your name in the credits, but there's no actual input, which is fine. But the other question that then raises is, where is this going to go after this? If they get $150,000, if they get $200,000, where does it go from there, right? When they run out that money, where is the rest of it going to come from? Because again, none of these people are getting producers or credits, so like it's not incentivizing someone who gives $10,000 at this $10,000 pledge level, or even this $3,000 pledge level as a sponsor. Like, you're not getting any input, so why would I want to do it from that standpoint? I'm not getting any revenue back. Like, so from a production side of things, it's very, very hard to look at. And as a consumer, like, who's not gonna, it's just a very weird dichotomy of overlaps of things. And, again, I think it's a great concept, but I just don't know if it can actually be accomplished. So that's going to be the tricky thing is, you spend all through the money, you get through, 6 months worth of episodes, and where then? Are you using this to like build a brand and get like monetized? But again, like, you would have to be talking hundreds of thousands of subscribers at least, routinely viewing, and then getting some of those other sponsorships, from this that are not only just one-timers like this crowdfunding campaign, but ongoing ones. That would be my worry. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I saw this get advertised a couple places on like Facebook and Twitter, but I have no clue where this is going to go or how this is going to end up over the next couple days or next, month. So I'm going to keep this one very close and see where they go with it from here. So there you go. A little bit of a divergence there. So next up, swords cut from the deck. And I looked at this and I said, this has got $60,000. Where is this coming from? It's from a webcomic. That is why this creator is getting all of the money with their first created and first backed game on crowdfunding in the first place, right? It's called the Sword Comic. And so what worries me with this, when I scroll down here, they give just the briefest of overviews of what the gameplay is actually looking like. There is no rule book and there is no video. And so to be throwing, you know, $100,000 at this game already, you know, in anywhere from a 35 to, you know, $200+ pledge level up here down to 500. Whoa. That's a lot of money, because essentially what you're doing, they say, and again, I can't tell, you've got this solo co-op adventure thing here, team brawl mode. Okay, great. But there's no details on how, other than this brief how to play. You pick a hero, you have a sword, you pick one of your various swords. They each have abilities. Great. They have abilities that are going to do things. Then you pick paper, scissors, rock style of 9 different move cards that are going to go head to head that your sword maybe is going to adapt or, you know, affect. And it's paper, scissors, rock only with swords. And then you deal damage based on who wins that ish. And if you knock out the other person's health, you win. That's it. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can tell you right now, because that's all that's here. And then they run you through, hey, do you want like a bunch of expansions? And do you want another side deck, you know, to give you, again, 50 more unique swords? And you want a bunch of foils and a playmat? And I don't know, because I don't know the gameplay. Like, again, some stretch goals down here, some awesome stuff from that standpoint. But I just feel like I don't know that there's a great game in there. I just can't tell. So right now, I wouldn't feel comfortable backing this. Like, if you give me some actual gameplay, if you show me the flow of things, if you give me a rule book, it would be a lot easier to tell. And the fact of the matter is there's not one out there, which sort of makes me a little bit nervous. But if you have experience with it, shout out in the comments section. You know, I'd love to see something before the end of the campaign. It's got a month to go, just like Tabletop News. So we'll see where it goes as well. Because, I mean, yeah, you could have something really kind of unique and kind of light and fillery in a sort of like Pocket Paragon sort of way, like we talked about that earlier in the month. So there you go. Drums of War, epic card game, battle game, 200% funded at this point. And this one has sort of a different vibe. It's humans versus orcs, and you basically have sort of a battle line-esque vibe where you've got about 5 different slots that you're going to be putting down cards, and they've got everything from range to health to attacks to defenses, and you're just going to be lining them up across from each other and using some of their abilities potentially and trying to whittle down the other person down to 0 health. And or make them run out of cards essentially too, because your cards are also going to be your resources in order to play cards. And so you have a hero that you're going to be starting out with. And the interesting thing about the hero is that the stronger the hero, the more cards you actually lose from your deck. So they all have a number in the upper left hand corner, and it says, okay, lose 6 heroes from your deck or lose 3 from your deck. And you have to do that. And you can see that that's what some of these upper left hand corner ones are. Not all of them though, because otherwise the upper left hand corner on the regular non-hero cards is the type of character that it is, right? Like melee, ranged, you know, whatever else it may be. And they give you the examples there of the orcs as well as the humans. You've got 2 decks that you're going to be going across, and this 5x5 and this 2x5 playmat here that you're going to be dealing with. That's kind of the gist of the game. Again, the exact nuances of some of these cards, you can start to see some of the abilities down here that are going to go along with it, with some of the units and the tactical nature of these cards. But it's sort of, again, like a little bit of a battle line meets numbers game with skirmish. So if that appeals to you, give it a look-see. Give you a little bit of overview down here and everything you need to know. But it's going to be interesting. They've hit a couple stretch goals here as well. So we'll see where it goes. It's got 200% of its funding goals. So that, you know what? $8,600. People are interested. Check it out. Let's go over here to gamefound for a second. Gatefall Monsters. This is, I believe, like the 3rd expansion in the Gatefall series. And basically they have these super big miniatures, and it's another expansion that's going along with their core skirmish style game of head-to-head monster battling with asymmetric abilities that you're slowly upgrading as you go across. And this is just bringing a whole nother set of characters for 1 to 2 players. All you're doing, drawing these cards, and these are going to be the total number of things that you can do on a turn. You have the options to move, attack, or buy cards to upgrade your fighter or your fighter's abilities themselves, and then kind of rinse and repeat. I had the base game originally. I ended up trading it away, I think, because it was a little bit too sluggish for me. And I don't mean that as like slow. I mean that like it was one of those games where we ended up doing too much of the standing one person here and the other person right in front of you and back and forth. And so I would hope that, I would think that some of the other expansions have varied it up more, and so that if you want more of this, there's going to be a lot more variability. But you can see, I mean, it's relatively intuitive. The health, you get knocked out, but they come back, and you have all of these stats over here that you're going to be dealing with, as well as an asymmetric ability. I mean, it's just kind of cool. He's got a different set of little themed expansions to go along with it, so you can pick and choose. They're all compatible with each other, sort of like the Unmatched system, if you will. And this just looks like a little bit cooler set, just because you recognize some of the stuff here in the first place. Fantasy versus Wasteland, Experimental Deck number 1. There's Gatefall in the first place. A couple of videos. Yeah, so what's it? $39. And that's the other thing I'll say is they've all been relatively affordable. They haven't been as appealing to me personally, but they're much more affordable than some of the other skirmish games, especially with the size of miniatures that you're going to be getting. So that's why I wanted to highlight it over here on GameFound. So check it out if you want. Actually, let's see what upcoming teams are. Is there a little bit of a... Oh, yeah. The Boglings are one of the previous ones as well that we've seen. And some of these other ones, I'm assuming, yeah, these are all early concepts. So, again, just going across the board with what you can do with it. So, Gatefall Monsters. There you go. So next up, this is dice cards. This is my sleeper pick of the week. Not funded by the time of me filming this, but hopefully by the time you're viewing this, it will be funded. This is an intriguing little concept, right? You have 50 different cards in this deck. They're all going to have little mini games. It reminds me of Rolling Realms, if you will, from Stonemaier Games, because each of these cards is going to be asymmetric in how you're going to be playing the little mini game on the card itself. And you're going to be managing not just one of these cards in a single game. You're going to be managing 6 of them simultaneously, and then putting the rest of the way. And so it's going to be simultaneously rolling dice and filling out numbers on one of the card, either from an individual die or from the sum of them. But you're not going to have enough turns. You're going to have 50 total rolls, it says, to get as many points as possible, but you're not going to be able to fill all 6 of these cards. So how you do that, the order in which you do that, the combination in which you do, with the tactical nature of having 6 different cards every single game, is just kind of cool. And so I really like the fact that they've done with this. And it's relatively straightforward. Standard 2 to 8 players at a time. You can deal out 9 cards if you want to start out to begin with and draft 6 of the 9. Head to head, choose the same 6 as someone else. Challenge sheets, solo. They've got a little bit of everything. Print and play if you really want. Even if you don't have real dice, they'll give you digital dice to play out online. So print and play is $5. You're not going to beat that for a value standpoint on crowdfunding right now, but if you want a physical copy, if you're like me and you need a physical copy of a game like this, $24 is a great price as well. So there you go. Sleeper pick of the week. Little bonus card there if they hit some stretch goals. Dice cards. Check it out. And if you do, tell them Liege sent you. So anyway, there we go. Next up, Lore of the Board Game. 7,000 of its $50,000 funding goal at this point. So this one has an uphill struggle, uphill battle that it's going to have to do, but it's a little bit of a different vibe. I really kind of like the art on this one. This is probably one of the favorite arts that I've seen this week. But it's got these 3 fields that you're going to be going through, and you're playing over 3 rounds, and each of those rounds is going to have 4 separate turns. Each of those turns has 3 separate elements in that. Does that make sense? So 12 essential turns that you're going to be getting, and each of your 12 turns is going to be broken up into essentially 3 phases. Is that a clearer way of saying it? Okay, so now that you get the gist of the game, what are you going to actually be doing? Well, the first thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be drawing an event card. An event card at one of these fields, something is going to happen. You're going to have to do something. You're going to have to mitigate something. You're going to have to answer something. And then after that, you can move to one of the adjacent fields, and you can move to any one that you want, essentially with some limitations. And then the third phase of things is you're going to be taking actions at said field. Anything from rolling dice to get treasures, to, completing or grabbing quests, however you want to, splice it, if you will. And so that's going to be the gist of the game. It's going to be $59 with a little bit of exclusivity there, special offer price-wise. They run you through what's going to be in the game itself in terms of the character boards here that you're going to have available to you, double-sided, depending on which you want to partake in. And then you also have all of the different field boards, 6 double-sided field boards that you'll be running through as well. Your character tokens, a little bit of wooden deluxeification there. And then which one of these is not like the other? $700 pledge if you want to get your likeness in the game. That's it, right? Like 59 or 700. But just to give you a little bit of knowledge, the rule book here you have a little example of the end game scoring. So things that are going to alter what your end game scoring is. So basically additional bonuses that you may end up in. And it runs you through a little bit. I'm going backwards here of other things that are going to be happening along the way, including dueling, buying from merchants, acquiring companions, filling out quests, and hunting for treasure at all of those locations as the actions that you will be taking right here. Lore is going to be just rewarding you for what you have out there in the first place and getting, like collecting your income, essentially, if you will. Runs you through the type of cards that you're going to be utilizing, characters, enchantments, merchants, and situations, as I mentioned previously. It seems a little bit more not like roll and move, but like a combination of like Euro and roll and move, and so a little bit of oath thrown in there too, just with the moving between the various fields. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is an interesting game. I just need more information on it. And yeah, I think this is one that you'd really have to watch a video to get a really good sense of the flow here. You've got a playthrough from Tantrum House, so if you're really interested, give it a look-see. Lore, the board game. Speaking of roll and moves, though, this is Old Mage next up. Also, is only about 70% funded at the time of me filming this, and so they have another uphill battle over the next 3 weeks. This is sort of an area movement style game where you are going to be wizards trying to be either the last one standing or claiming the high wizard orb to be the one crowned the victorious wizard of them all. Each turn, what you're going to be doing is rolling dice in order to move across the map, take various actions and cast a spell at the location, and then potentially battle monsters in order to, you know, get more resources or victory points. Regions themselves on said map will also have different things that you'll be able to interact with. And if we pull up the rule book here, you can see a little bit of what you're also going to be running into, including mage cards, events, relics, and haunts that are going to be available as you traverse across. I mean, the rule book is only 9 pages long here. It's a very short rule book. It goes through a little bit of what the spells are. They're very straightforward, and it gives you a little bit of interaction of how you're going to be even dealing with the terrain that you're located on. So again, this is one that the rule book doesn't give me quite the best flow. So I definitely give it a look-see if you have any interest, but it kind of gives you a little summary here. Roll, move, or camp and heal, cast a spell. If you're in a good land, get a bonus, do an encounter, including monsters or events. Can draw other ruin cards, or you can end your move and draw an event card depending on where you're at. Battling, dueling is also an option, and they run you through the magic system like I already talked about as well. So a few other nuances there, and there you go. Check it out. A couple of videos down here at the bottom, including the learn to play. So if you have any interest in this one as well, give it a look-see. Old Mage. Next up, we have Secret Cabal. They launched their Kickstarter funding for 2023. One of the most popular gaming podcasts out there for tabletop games. I don't listen to podcasts, so I mean, I know them by their reputation though. A little bit, I think, heavier type overall, but I think they cover the whole gamut and the whole spectrum. And I mean, people really seem to like them that really like them. And $57,000 basically says that. So that's a lot of money for a podcast, right? Like that clearly shows the popularity. And they've got a bunch of promos like all of the content creation ones do. They've got a bunch of swag, which is the other thing. And then they've got some other game toppers, legacy promo, sponsor. That's about it. And they run you through some of the pledges here, and you can buy some of the stuff individually. Otherwise, you can get just the promo pack. Now, you can only buy the Frosthaven one individually, which is, again, kind of sad. I wish you could pick and choose, but I understand why they don't do that in the first place. Here's all the ones that are going to be included for $45. And so, I mean, $57,000. Yeah, that's insane because it's more recently launched than a couple of the others in this list. So take that for what you will. I have to mention this, the Walking Dead universe role-playing game. How many role-playing games do you need? I mean, it's like, speaking of board games, like I have too many board games ever to play in my life. Role-playing games are like an exaggeration of that for me, right? Because anyway, I'm done. Walking Dead, I'm rant over. This is my, I would call this a sleeper hit, and I think this has some interesting potential as a semi-cooperative, as says down here on the disclaimer, uncooperative card game. But the reason I think it's kind of not going anywhere after it's launched here is because there's not enough information on the page. There's a Dice Tower video, and that's about it, because it talks about it being a semi-cooperative game where you're fighting monsters, you're killing all these monsters that are coming out as a group, as a cooperative style situation. But after you've killed a certain number of them, well, maybe you don't want to kill them all, or maybe you don't want to kill certain ones because maybe they're actually going to help you, or maybe they're not going to hurt you. And if you kill too many of them, then someone could potentially betray you and then attack you or try and take you out. And so that's all you really have, though. It's based on a comic. Here's the video that I mentioned. That's it. They run through some of the pledge levels, some of the content, some of the stretch goals there, and then they talk about this other game, Thalara, that I'd never heard of, which is well rated on Board Game Geek as an 8.0, but it has 48 ratings. So I mean, I didn't even heard of this one. It says a highly acclaimed 2-player dueling game. So I don't know. Do you guys know that one? Anyway, but that's it. That's all that's on the page. Like, show me more. Show me a rule book. Why should I get this game over others? How am I actually defeating the monsters? None of that stuff is on here. I'm not watching one single video that's done, paid wise to tell me, again, a description overall. So, you need more on a page. I don't care how good it is based off a comic book series. it needs more. So that's why I have a feeling this one's going to fail to fund, but it seems like a cool concept and I like the artwork. So give me more and you'll probably get more. You know, it's give and take, right? Next up, Little Guys, the card game. Again, this is based off of a bunch of animators that got together to make an I cut, you choose style game. And the interesting thing is every round you have a certain number of cards based on how many players you're putting out there, or maybe actually it's just 10 cards, I think it says. And the player, the navigator, the person tasked with being the party planner, they say, it divides them up into piles equaling the number of players. And the only trick is the person that divides them is actually the last one gets to choose which of these piles that they get. So be careful how you want it. It's more of a set collection, point style collection game. Again, that's all that's on the page really. And you can see they want to do some expansions and they want to give some other stuff, and it's going to cost you $15, and they've got a little miniature figurines you can buy along here. So that's, again, about it. It needs more information. It needs a rule book. It needs to show me something. Why? What are some of these powers? How are these working together? You know, again, it's probably going to fund, but you've got people funding it at almost $100 a pledge, and the game is only $15 a piece. Like, that seems a little... What's the big pledge level down here then? Yeah, you've got people buying lunch with the guys, an exclusive guy tier. Where's all this money coming from then? There's not a lot of, yeah. So it's all merchandise secondary. So that's a little weird. You know, you got like, I don't know, 47 copies of a game. Is that going to be production wise feasible? No idea, but thought I'd mention it at least. And then we have Beverage here. This is a Japanese worker placement game where you are a CEO of a conglomerate of making beverages and you're trying to build a stadium somehow. And it's got a bunch of phases in this medium weight Euro worker placement style game. So if you pull the rule book up here, you can see the 7 phases that it goes through. And it's only got a 16-page rule book. So most of the phases are relatively straightforward in what you're doing in terms of planning, sales, and everything else. And so you want to have the most victory points at the end by the cooperative nature, I believe, of building this stadium all together through these various improvements that you're going to be taking advantage of. So I can't give you too much more details on that one, but it is about 50% fun at the time of me filming this. And that's pretty impressive. And so if you have any interest in this as well, the rules are there. Miss Merck does some awesome, online videos that explain how to play the game. She does some great work there. I'm a big fan of her, actually. And they run you through some of the other stuff that you need to know. But definitely check out the rule book on this one if you want to see how heavy it is, or if it's like your style of Euro from that aspect. Last up, we have The Hunt going over to GameFound. This was my third pick last week. 16,000. It is over 130% funded at the time of me filming this. This is from Salt and Pepper Games. This is a 1 versus 1, 2-player asymmetric war dueling type game where you're either the British fleet or you are the, I think the German submarines. And so if you're the German submarines, you're playing these cards back and forth, and you have 5 rounds to either find the sub and then have a last battle to determine who wins. If you're the British, that's the main way you're going to win. Or if you are the Germans, then you have to sink 5 of their freighter ships. But there's this really special win condition down here that they talk about. If you make it to the final round and both of the sides have this one special unique card, then if they play it both in the last round, then the British win right here, it says. But if they're played elsewise, their other scoring portion of things is going to matter more. So they must be like uber powerful cards, but if you both decide to keep your uber powerful cards, then the British are going to win in the end. So they run you through, okay, what are you doing? You're playing cards, either using it for the action points that you need to move, repair, attack, or, plan, versus playing it for the event and what's actually going on that you can utilize here in addition. Redraw, go back and forth until somebody battles or somebody actually wins. It's fought over 5 duels that you reveal cards from your hand and revealing it simultaneously. So this probably looks like the biggest sleeper hit of the week for me. And I have no qualms about saying that, especially when it's only going to cost you £23 at this point. So if you go over there and you're interested and intrigued at all of this one, a 2-player war asymmetric dueling game, I am intrigued by this even as a non-war gamer. Tell them, again, Liege sent you. So yeah, they know where some of that support's coming from. Helps get the word out about me too, but I help the word get out about them for you guys. So quid pro quo! That's all I got. A couple interesting games there. Hunt, there's a reason I chose that as the third one last week. Next week, holy crap, Batman. 21st. I'll tell you right now. Galactic Renaissance. Nekojima. You've never heard of that one. It's the most fun dexterity game I've played since Crokinole. I kid you not. Crokinole, Clask, Nekojima. It's like if you took Jenga, made it modern day board game, and it was amazing. Amazing. And then you have also Unmatched Adventures, the Dice Throne version of that. Dice Throne Adventures, Unmatched Adventures in the 2-player dueling cooperative now. So I'm intrigued to see where that one's going to go in addition. So take that for what you will, but that's some high pedigree. All 3 of those games looking real nice. Really, really nice. Oh, sorry. Completely forgot the 4th one. Let's Go to Japan from AEG. That one also. That's probably... super excited by that one too. A little more detail on them, hopefully tomorrow. But depending on how the trip goes with the kids today, it might be Sunday instead. I might have to flip-flop videos this week. So you'll just have to tune in tomorrow to see what comes out. I got nothing else. Sorry. I'm a little excited, a little hyped tonight. I need to go eat some oatmeal. It's my bedtime snack tonight. Don't skip leg day. I didn't, and it was unpleasant. Stay classy. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great freaking day and a great Friday. Thanks, guys.